Welcome back guys to another Odyssey video and to another crazy 2 billion damage build. As I already explained to you, there are two ways to do the 2 billion damage glitch, and in my previous videos I have only shown you the warrior hunter way so far. But of course you could also make your assassin damage negative, which will result in the absolute 2 billion damage assassin build. With this build you will have no issues with your assassinations and you will completely obliterate everything. You will deal up to 2 billion damage for all your assassin abilities, for all your assassinations and to everyone standing nearby. Especially when using Hero Strike, you will deal up to 2 billion damage to everyone around you. You will have infinite Ares Madness. I've also added ISO Enhance and we can use the invincibility glitch for this build, which makes it in fact an even better build than the previous resistant builds. So we don't have to focus on any resistances anymore because you won't die anyway if you play this build correctly. In case you missed one of the previous videos, you might now wonder how you actually do this. The first thing you have to do is bring your damage below minus 100%. When you do that, your damage in your inventory screen suddenly turns negative. This will make the damage overflow and the game will just think it's 2 billion damage. To get your damage negative, you have to use the minus 100% damage from the second sight engraving and combine it with the assassin conversion if you want to make your warrior damage negative, or with the warrior conversion if you want to make your assassin damage negative. And to create the ultimate assassin build, we will also go for 100% guaranteed assassinations from the Knife of Dalvun. We will add 2 billion damage from Ares Madness, and we will also add 2 billion damage from the assassin damage to nearby engraving. In combination with the infinite Ares Madness and ISO Enhance glitch, you will make this build probably one of the best builds ever created. Especially the assassin damage to nearby, which is indicated by the blue circle, is so much fun to use, and especially if you deal hundreds of millions or even billions of damage with it. Even though your warrior damage will be extremely weak, but that shouldn't bother you at all if you can use infinite Ares Madness. To make all your assassin abilities deal always positive damage, you have to understand that your damage will cycle between positive and negative 2 billion damage, and only with the correct critical damage multiplier you will make sure that all your assassinations and all your assassin damage will always deal positive numbers. And 300% critical damage was the magic number for this assassin build to make you always deal positive damage. Another good thing is that your hunter abilities won't be affected by this glitch, so whatever you do, you will always deal all your damage with your hunter abilities. Of course, focusing entirely on assassin damage comes with several downsides, but I've tried to mitigate them as much as possible. The devastating shot will still deal 1.3 to 1.8 million damage, the predator shot will go up to 2.7 million damage, and all your assassinations and especially the assassin damage to nearby will be up to 500 million in total. Hero Strike can go up to 1.8 billion damage and it will also deal all this damage to every enemy nearby. The Ares Madness activation will be up to 200 million and every attack you deal with Ares Madness, no matter if it's a light attack or a heavy attack, will always be between 1.5 and 2 billion damage. All your assassinations will be 100% guaranteed, and if you use the 2 kills reset for your Ares Madness ability, you will get an infinite amount of Ares Madness and can literally use this ability forever. And if done correctly, you will also be 100% invincible forever. If you are using the Ares Madness cooldown engraving on your arms, you only have to make 2 kills to reset Ares Madness so that you can immediately activate this again. And whenever you activate Ares Madness, you will also reset your ISO Enhance timeout. The invincibility glitch is not about having infinite Ares Madness, it is about having ISO Enhance with absolute zero cooldown. And if you ever get hit with this build, you can also still use the torch healing glitch. Simply pull out your torch and then switch back to your weapon to fully heal your character. However, this will only work with the reduced health cap from either the Falx or the Knife of Dalvun. Please also make sure to watch the abilities and mastery section because it is extremely important not to get anything wrong here. If you use too many mastery points or if you use the wrong perks, you could end up with your abilities dealing no damage all the time. So it is extremely important to just pick what is needed to get. Even if there's a perk that is supposed to increase your damage for a certain attack, by using them you could end up dealing no damage for this attack. A single percentage point can be the difference between dealing no damage or 2 billion damage. So follow this build exactly like it is shown. But now let's finally check out the build, guys. In this build we have negative assassin damage, which will result in 2 billion glitched assassin damage to the expense of having literally no warrior damage and around 40,000 hunter damage. The Knife of Dalvun will also guarantee that all our assassinations are always positive, but due to the nature of this glitch, our warrior damage will become unusable. But with so much assassin damage, that shouldn't be an issue at all. One thing that you have to be aware of is that you should not use the big combo in this build, because otherwise you would also make your hunter damage become literally unusable. But by decoupling warrior and hunter damage by using a different bow than the big combo, we can still have some decent amount of hunter damage for this build. Please also be aware that this glitch is only working when your assassin damage is negative. It must be below 0 to make this glitch work. So you have to avoid to use any additional warrior or assassin damage, because otherwise your assassin damage won't be negative. That's the reason why you should use hunter damage on almost all your items. On our left melee weapon, we will go for either warrior or hunter damage, damage with swords and critical damage. Even if we go for warrior damage here on this item, our assassin damage would still be negative since we only get 12% from the converted warrior damage. The legendary engraving for this item should be assassin damage applies to nearby enemies. Even though our warrior damage is pretty rubbish for this build, but if you still want to get a perfect warrior sword, then you should do the Friend in Need quest in Attica and lie to Hathor to keep the sword for yourself. Other than that, you can equip any melee weapon you want in your left slot for this build, because it doesn't make a difference anyway, as long as it doesn't have assassin damage on it. In the second melee weapon slot, we will equip the Knife of Dalvun, which gives us the guaranteed assassinations, and we will also engrave the convert 50% warrior damage to all damage in this build. This is needed to make our assassin damage go negative, and even though this item gives us additional assassin damage and warrior damage, we would still be at negative assassin damage even when using it. In order to get the Knife of Dalvun, you have to go to Corfu Island, which is a free add-on to the game, so make sure you have all your recent updates installed. To get the assassin damage to nearby engraving and all of the damage conversions, you have to play the Atlantis DLC and forge the spear in the Forge of Atlantis. Without the conversion engraving, you will not be able to make your assassin damage go negative. For the bow, we will use Achilles bow. It has hunter damage, comes with a 10% crit chance engraving naturally, and it will also boost our devastating shot ability, which is really needed for this build. On this item we will also engrave the plus 200% headshot damage and minus 100% warrior and assassin damage from the second sight bow, which you can find in the pirate warehouse on Corfu Island. On our headgear we will go for hunter damage, headshot damage, 20% crit chance while full health, and we engrave the Become Easy Enhanced engraving from the Atlantis add-on. On the bracers we will also go for hunter damage, critical damage while full health, 10% crit chance, and the reduced cooldown duration for Battle Cry, which will also work for Ares Madness, and it will also work as 50% instead of the written 15%, so you only have to make 2 kills to completely reset your Ares Madness ability. This engraving comes from the Northern Traveler set, which is a free club reward. For our belt we will use the Belt of the Sphinx with hunter damage, 20% crit chance while full health, and we will engrave another 50% headshot damage, because we don't want to increase our critical damage beyond 300%. If you increase your critical damage over 300%, your assassin abilities won't deal positive damage anymore. So it is extremely important that you stick to the engravings shown in this video. Getting more critical damage when using the 2 billion damage glitch doesn't mean you deal more damage. It could rather mean that you will deal no damage at all. On the torso we will go for hunter damage, critical damage and elemental resistance, and engrave 15% all damage, and on the boots we will go for hunter damage, crit chance while full health, 20% elemental resistance, and the 100% headshot damage but increased adrenaline consumption. The 100% headshot damage can also be found on Corfu Island. Just grab the tablet in this location, and the solution for it is in Aleos village at the Big Pot. With this build you will get minus 103% assassin damage, up to 565% headshot damage, 100% crit chance and 300% critical damage. This is the sweet spot where all your assassin abilities will always be positive. I just want to stress again that it is extremely important to get all the same stats on every item with the exact same number of percentages to make all of your attacks deal positive damage. If you have a different build or if you are using different stats, you have to find your own sweet spots by adjusting your critical damage and your headshot damage. Whatever you do with this build, but under no circumstances you should ever use the Warrior Mastery or the Assassin Mastery, because they would add both Warrior or Assassin damage to your build, which would completely ruin the glitch. The recommended abilities for this build are of course Sixth Sense, which will double your Hunter damage, Arrow Master, then Multi-Shot, Devastating Shot and Predator Shot, from which I find Devastating Shot is the most easiest to use. Archery Master can safely be equipped because it just uses Hunter damage and won't break the glitch. Then you can also go for Overpower Bow Strike if you like, however the damage would still be very limited. Ghost Arrows of Artemis are also great if you're facing enemies with shields. Even though your warrior abilities are extremely weak, the charge attack can still be used to break shields or guards of enemies. Weapons Master should be avoided, Gear Master will increase your armor. Flaming attacks and Fire Mastery can of course be used if you want to go for fire arrows. Overpower attacks can also basically be skipped, but you will need the points to unlock RS Madness. RS Madness, which is the enhanced version of Battlecry, is of course the most mandatory ability to use in this build. Most of your kills will probably be done with either RS Madness or a combination of RS Madness and Hero Strike. Fury of the Bloodline can still be useful to refill your adrenaline, however with this build you won't be able to kill anyone with it. If you don't like to use the torch glitch for healing, you can of course also go for Second Wind instead. However, absolutely avoid going for Shadow Assassin because that will add assassin damage which would break the glitch. Rush Assassination for some reason is just not working when using the negative damage glitch, so you have to rely on Hero Strike instead. You can of course go for Stealth Master and also Shadow of Nyx if you like to use it. In the masteries you should go for Hunter damage and increase your crit chance, however don't go for any additional critical damage. If you already have 300%, this is all you need. Optionally you can go for the increased headshot damage and the other Hunter perks, and you can also go for range resistance and the adrenaline perk. In the warrior tab it is very important that you don't go for any additional warrior damage because it would otherwise break the glitch. Optionally you can go for health, armor and melee resistance. Armor penetration will be mandatory to make this build work, and optionally you can go for damage dealt restored as health. In the assassin tab, absolutely avoid to go for assassin damage, it would otherwise break the glitch. You can go for damage swords, and you absolutely have to go for all the crit shots and critical damage stuff. If you have more points you can also go for further damage reduction from chance to ignore half damage and elemental resistance, and also increase your adrenaline regeneration. I hope you really like this build. Please don't forget to subscribe, leave me a like and see you next time.